It's Tuesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Urayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. YK in the building.
Good morning.
Good to have you, YK.
It's good to be here. It's always good to be here. I love being here. I hate waking up in the morning. Today, I couldn't wake up. Oh, man.
Why? What happened? You rocked yesterday?
No, I didn't. It's my age.
Not in the mood.
It's my age.
25-year-old YK.
I've always admitted I've never. That's why everybody knows my age.
Oh, you're 68 now, right?
She's looking for trouble.
I'm telling you.
You know, it's because menopause is worrying her, so she's forgetting my age.
I'm very far from menopause. Very far, trust me.
I've seen how she forgets. She will get on the show, she will say, okay, see you next week. And today is Tuesday.
Okay, she actually good. Yeah, she's good.
Ah, gosh.
Good to have you on the show. Let me
It's good to be here. It's good to be
Imam, any gist for us?
It's you.
No, it's been a long time that Imam has given us gist on traffic. So the traffic in the area anymore.
There's traffic actually. Now I don't know what happened. On Sunday, a double container fell and almost hit our new blue rail. The thing paid me. It was personal.
They shouldn't hit that blue rail.
Almost hit our blue rail.
They should
So
charge
thank
you.
God they put this barricade. The thing protected it. So it was there on Sunday, and the traffic kept building. I was shocked to see it starting from Maza this morning. But you know Nima now, as I cannot stay lucky because I need corner to corner. I found my way to Apapa. Yeah, I found my way to Apapa and came to work. So I don't usually, except when I'm sitting in the traffic. But I had a question yesterday because when we read our FAQ books, me and my son, you start asking questions. He now asked me, Mommy, what's a surname? Is it my son's name? Or why is it a surname? I said, okay, no, it's your ancestors' names. And I said, okay, so you chose to give me Zibiri. I said, I didn't choose it. It's your ancestors who chose to answer Zibiri. And then he went, so were they originally Muslims or are we not Africans? I said, oh, maybe. Zibiri is a Muslim name, so Islam must have started with him or his father. But his own father was Isimika, was not taking it back to the Benin and all of that. And so he said, so how did he become a surname? And I was like, so whose name is what?
I love
was
that.
like, how will Murray answer this question with Afolabi Brown? Because me now, at least,
That one is easy.
I can leave it somewhere. But how will Murray, if this kind of questions were, I was not thinking of all of my friends with names that, we have to.
Names, yeah.
I said, no, me, I'm Akashat. My own ancestors were Akokia. So maybe in between, somebody became Muslim.
I love that he's asking those kind of critical questions.
He can make, that boy can query into your being.
That's fantastic. That's
and
lovely.
sometimes I need to escape.
Oh, that's fantastic.
My own is easy. We were on some Kuti.
Yeah.
Slave name.
But somebody will ask you, if they can ask
So my
you,
father changed his own from ransom to Anikulaku.
So
Kept the Kuti. Yeah, that it was the slaves that gave us ransom, I believe.
Mine was originally Sanusi Aka from Maiduguri. Imagine, I have Maiduguri ancestry. All the way. So for my, I think that fourth, fifth generation, moved to Lagos. And my mother's generation, my father's mother, they are Brazilian settlers. So they came together, the Brazilian woman plus the guy from Maiduguri came together. He now became Basharun of Lagos. And they just...
You know, if you do your DNA, like I did my DNA, do you know that I have some Togo blood?
Really?
Yeah, West African.
Benin, I have is it Bantu or Congo?
Really? Where did you do the DNA?
I didn't do it. Larry did it.
Oh, she traced it.
So, in our constitution, there's a provision for the West African migration. I remember studying it, and they said if you have ancestry or descended from certain West African region, you're most likely Nigerian. So we're not separate.
Let me find out how Ramatu is doing before we take over time. How are you doing?
My own name is direct. So I'm bearing my dad's name direct. Yeah, so I'm doing well. Over the weekend on Saturday, I was with Dami. I went on her show. She said I should come and advertise my products. Yes, Oja, the show. And it was so interesting. You know Dami now, dramatic.
Very dramatic.
I'm telling you, it was so nice.
She's
they had
good
fun.
at this Alaga thing.
Yes.
Dami is fantastic.
Yes.
I love when I see her
I haven't seen her do it.
Oh, she
Have you watched
very
her show?
lovely.
I haven't watched the show
On
yet.
LTV.
You need to watch it. It's also on YouTube.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well
Yeah,
done.
so when then there was a friend who turned 50 and went for his birthday. I ate lots and lots of puff. There's this mentality you have that when you eat a lot and you work out, you now start thinking, okay, I'm going to burn it. I've not exercised since then.
I've not done anything.
Okobi
But
is-
you burn when you exercise, because I've been exercising, and no matter what I eat, I don't put on weight anymore. And I eat, like last night it was pounded yam. Yeah.
Okay, your body is constantly burning the fat because you're
Exactly,
exercising.
because I'm exercising.
Yeah, that's true. My brother told me that.
Yeah.
See, my husband has been using, he filled his tank 2 weeks ago, and he's still using the petrol for 2 weeks. Me that I fuel like maybe 3-4 times a week. The guy does like 20 kilometers per hour on the road.
What
kind of car?
He's just driving like this on expressway. He's taking 30, and I'm thinking, drive this car. Don't rush me. They'll be pressing the horn behind him. He's not answering. No.
So maybe it's because I drive very fast. Maybe that's why my...
Yes, so it's like, because you're pushing the accelerator. That's what's causing this pumping the fuel. So he's there just going. I put it on neutral, and he's going 2 weeks. I feel jealous.
Try it too.
I'm like, I'm telling you. So maybe that's the way that you guys got the. But I know I can't. I'm irritated by his driving. Like, please move this car. Okay, want to better come down and walk. I'm not going faster than this. Anyways, let's go on a short break. When we come back, we'll look at the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. Federal government approves tax relief to boost business and employment. Saudi Arabia to host 4 TV channels with Nigeria's satellite. MAN, that's Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, says 2 trillion naira stabilization plan can lift economy. NERC, 11 discos collected 1.7 trillion revenue last year. Why we moved Oredo, Ikpoba, Oka Results Collation Centers, says INEC. Makinde halts demolition of houses on Circular Road. Free medical outreach to mark Oyetola's 70th birthday. And EU-US gives succor to Borno flood victims. Okay?
Okay, so let me do major headlines. Seems like good news. So the Federal Executive Council yesterday has okayed the stabilization bill. Bills, a couple of bills. And these bills are birthed from the Presidential Committee on Tax and Fiscal Policy Reforms conclusions over the year. That's committee that was set up by the president, headed by our former friend, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. He's been scarce recently.
Yes, so is that the
I've seen
presidency?
everywhere, but not here. So this bill seeks to, approve a raft of far-reaching economic policies and infrastructure programs. It also seeks to endorse federal and state collaboration to suspend certain taxes on small businesses and vulnerable population. One of the things the bill looks to do is amend the income tax laws, promote export of goods and services, and reform exchange rates regime and unlock foreign exchange policies. So it proposes, number one, to relieve companies that generate incremental employment. So if you have continuous employment, you might be able to take advantage of this tax in your income tax. And then there's another personal one that offers personal income relief to people in private and public employment from between 200,000 to 400,000. Details of those who it will cover, I cannot find immediately in the story, maybe towards the end of it. But also in the same story, they approved major road projects. That's from the FEC meeting. But for this one that relieves, taxes on businesses, welcome.
Okay. Another story, Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. Yesterday, we're saying that the federal government's Accelerated Stabilization and Advancement, that is ASAP, program is going to be a major lift for the economy. They describe its potency and says that that once this injection of 2 trillion naira is put into the economy, it will definitely lift things from where it is right now. So the Director General, Segun Ajayi Kadri, in a statement said that the stabilization plan epitomizes the collaboration between the government and relevant stakeholders of the private sector. Federal government has unveiled the stabilization plan to inject 2 trillion naira into the economy in the next 6 months, and it will increase electricity generation and crude oil production. We'll see how that goes. We are really looking forward to that. What's the Oyetola story?
So I have the Oyetola story. They said no fewer than 4,000 residents of Osun State will benefit from medical outreach to mark the 70th birthday of the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, that is Mr. Oyetola. He said the medical outreach will be held for 5 days for the vulnerable and the needy. and said there's going to be free surgery as well. The designated medical facilities for selected patients. And they said food items will be distributed to residents as part of the activities as well. So they said he has paid his dues as a seasoned professional politician whose indelible imprints cannot be overemphasized. They said his rare virtues were worth celebrating at 70. Happy birthday to the former.
This was said by the ex-speaker of the Osun State House of Assembly, Timothy Owoeye.
Yeah, I wanted to take this story about Makinde, the Ibadan Circular Corridor. He has assured the residents, that's Makinde, has assured the residents that the Ibadan Circular Road Corridor will have no further demolition. A lot of protesters carried placards last week for 3 days, and then this week again, they started again. So he finally addressed thousands of them, and he said that he assured them that they will not be doing any more demolitions, but that nobody should build anything on that corridor anymore. He says what they will do is they will construct around their buildings, but nobody should build on the land again. No.
The Punch. Moving on quickly. Edopo, PDP demands fresh collation as LP Akpata alleges fraud. Police probe alleged killing of 3 by Lagos teenage driver. Litigation claims against 6 banks near 2 trillion naira. Passengers panic as plane windshield breaks in Abuja. YFG must end petrol subsidy now, says Dangote. National Assembly resumes today, demands 2025 budget. Okay, which story?
Let me just take the litigation. So, based on the annual results of the financial institutions filed with the Nigerian Exchange Limited, the 6 banks that are presently facing legal claims amounting to 1.9 trillion as of June 2024. The financial institution analyzed includes Access Holdings, FCMB, Wema Bank, Stanbic IBTC, Guarantee Trust Holding, and Zenith Bank PLC. But they said that this all this amount does not really impact the bank. The financial impact of this on the banks remains very low. So I'm hoping that it will not be something to scare us. But they did a breakdown of the claims and review several other things. Just read the story for details. Let me not be promoting which bank is which bank. Too many brand names.
Okay. Let me go on a short break now. When we come back, we continue with our reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. Who has a story?
Yes, I had the story of the car crash on Monday, at 1 a.m. on Monday. 2 cars. They didn't say the age of the second car, but the age of the guy that caused the accident was 18. He bashed into the other car, very serious accident. 2 of them died on the spot. 1 died 10 minutes later. And there was a quarrel because, onlookers came, people trying to help. Then the police came and handcuffed the survivors, according to the tweet by Dr. Love, Dr. Love, something. Anyway, he tweeted that the police handcuffed the survivors, and everyone started shouting, "Look at dead people, carry them to the mortuary." So the police, after a lot of quarrel, they uncuffed them and took them to the dead people to the mortuary, and the surviving drivers to the hospital. They wanted to arrest him, but they said the way he was behaving, they knew he needed to go to the hospital. So they're going to question him, the guilty one, when he comes out. But the police have denied that ever happened. They said they didn't handcuff anybody, that they just came and behaved according to the way they're supposed to behave. They took them to the hospital, so that it's a lie.
Okay, so passengers were thrown into a panic mode yesterday on Monday as the windshield of an Embraer ERJ-145 aircraft operated by an airline. I'm not going to mention the name of the airline just so that it don't cause panic. But as the aircraft landed in Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, the windshield reportedly shattered, sparking concerns by passengers. Interestingly, one of the former he's a human rights advocate and also former presidential candidate Omoyele Shere was also on board on that plane. One of the passengers also saw the incident and identified herself as Fumi and told the correspondent in the Punch that was a very scary incident while expressing dissatisfaction with the airline for refusing to explain what happened to them. Of course, reports were sent to NCAA and also NSIB just to get information on what happened. But they said they can only respond to accidents, not incidents. That was an incident, and they will let them know what.
Yeah, they also sent the Airpeace lady.
I didn't want to mention the name.
I didn't mean to mention their name, but they sent her a text, and she said, "What panic for flying public? For the flying public, can you verify what you have said?" You know, she was very.
But thank God it happened when it landed. So that's another.
I love your glasses. Did I tell you?
Thank you.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I have the Dangote story. They said Dangote said now is the right time to end fuel subsidy. Said that ending petrol imports will have a huge upside in easing currency pressures. He said, and I quote, "Subsidy is a very sensitive issue. Once you are subsidizing something, then people will blot the price, and then the government will end up paying what they are not supposed to be paying." And I'm still thinking, the president removed the whole subsidy, but I heard that he brought some back. And also he was saying that...
It's called what they call it, landing and unique concourse. They have some new names, so just change the name.
Yeah, so they said that, that once he removes the subsidy, at least it will help in showing the real consumption. And then he is saying that particularly for most of the trucks or ships that will come to load from us, we are going to put a tracker on them to be sure that they are not going to take the oil out of Nigeria. They want to make sure that it's within Nigeria and distributed evenly.
Okay, moving on quickly now to Vanguard. Edo will meet APC INEC in court to retrieve our mandate, says PDP. Fubara's loyalists ditch PDP, APC pitch tent with APP. 2024 annual confab in Bayelsa. Editors invite experts to address economy and media space challenges. Onga 79, Nigeria demands UN Security Council seat. And diesel price still increasing nationwide, says NBS report. Okay, which story?
Okay, so let me take the NBS report. So this, the National Bureau of Statistics reports has said that the average price of the automotive gas oil, that's diesel, has increased year on year by 64.58% to 1,406 naira per litre in August 2024. And this was different from, same time last year when it was 854 naira per litre. And so we know there's no diesel, there's no subsidy on diesel, but there's continuously been an increase on the price. So month on month, the average has been by 1.93% growth. So you see between 8,379 per litre in July, and then it went up to 8,406 by August. And they took a report of it across states. So it's higher in states up north, highest in states like Kaduna, Bauchi, and Taraba. It sells for almost 2,000 naira in Kaduna, almost same as 8,927 naira in Bauchi, and 1,638 naira in Taraba, and lower in Lagos at 1,237 naira, Ogun as well as Oshun. And they took this report, and the one that breaks my heart is that kerosene, which is also no longer subsidized, is being sold. It had a 45.21% growth in a year on year and sells at 1,847 naira. And I still saw a small boy with a bottle of table water full of kerosene, obviously, so people still cook with it. And this for the lower, most vulnerable. I think we should do something about the most vulnerable people.
Something. Okay.
But those of us on Band A are hardly buying diesel again, Sha.
Okay, you use all
But what about for
They're
business?
not even using lights, gone safe.
Me, I was saying someone yesterday. I've not used AC since June.
10 p.m. We are off NEPA, 10 p.m. to 10 a.m.
Yeah.
10 a.m.
because they gave
Sorry, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We are on Bande.
It's because because you can measure. If you underestimated, if you like off lights, you're big.
That's
Yeah, I'm
true.
now used to putting off everything. And once
Yeah,
I enter
so
room, I just put it off.
Freezer doesn't, my own
everything.
freezer doesn't go 24 hours again. We leave it on during the
Overnight.
day overnight. And in the morning it's frozen. They do that, they will turn it off.
Yeah,
Then, so we're all managing electricity now.
But you know it's not healthy for the freezer. We do that too, but it's not healthy.
Frozen though. It's still frozen.
But that,
Don't open
I
it
think
off,
that constant on and off.
Try not to open it too much. Keep it simple. Okay, moving on. Onga, so in New York, Nigeria has again reiterated its demand for the United Nations Security Council seat, a permanent seat. They try to defend. They try to emphasize the fact that Nigeria has participated in 41 peacekeeping missions since 1960 and actually have deployed over 200,000 troops for global peace. And they deserve a permanent seat with the United Nations Security Council. So that they also need the cooperation of the United Nations to build a formidable army to be able to combat terrorism across Africa. So they're asking for a permanent seat, and they're saying that this is something that we've been asking for many years, and I'm hoping that it will be considered this time around. This was said by, I think it was the Minister of Defense himself, Mohammed Badaro, was speaking in the United Nations yesterday.
So
I have the OPEC story.
Okay.
They said that the takeoff of Nigeria's Dangote refinery in Nigeria and the Dos Bocas refinery in Mexico will affect plants in the United States of America and Europe. They said these two countries, in addition to other African countries, were the major markets for petrol, and that now that in their latest 2024 World Oil Outlook 2050, they said the new mega projects are poised to alter the international downstream markets. They said the Dangote refinery and the upcoming commercial start of the Dos Bocas refinery are likely going to be the most. They are going to knock out all the other markets, and they'll start selling. They will dominate the international market. This could change when these two refineries reach full operation.
Capacity. That's good news for us, but we were not focusing on that. We're focusing on issues, right, the internal issues. We are focusing so much on the pricing and transition. But globally, they're already scared that if this thing comes full-blown, full capacity, that's going to take a market share from them. That's what they're already saying.
We are worried about our own.
That's what I keep saying.
Now we have the
people,
But that's going to be revenue for Nigeria.
Yes.
I feel that
Tell that
NNPC, with the interests they protect, are protecting this external interest more than they are protecting our internal one. Why would they frustrate ourselves?
Tell that to the man that is pushing his wheelbarrow, that one is. He's not going to know. It's what is affecting his stomach right now that he knows. You know, I was going to say that the Fubara loyalists have dumped PDP and APC and have pitched tents with the Action People's Party, APP, to actualize their political future. It says that the reality is that the that the Chief Nelson Wike, Abi Nison Wike, Nison Wike,
a whole year, so Wike.
leave that level.
You know, FCT minister, what are you talking about?
Yes, because he has taken over PDP and APC, so they have gone to.
They went to Dengue until the next strategy. All of these politicians, don't trust them.
Oh, gosh. I can't laugh. Nigerian politics. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Nigerian Tribune, final paper for today. Kogi Assembly calls for sack of EFCC chairman, insists Kogi money not missing. Kidnapped varsity, Zamfara varsity student staff released after 7 months. Food insecurity may worsen crisis in poultry sector, says stakeholders. You guys not take any story here. Which story? Editors take 2024. You took Kogi. Go ahead.
So on behalf of Kogi people, since the House of Reps are representing all of Kogi people in the, sorry, as House of Reps, House of Assembly of Kogi State is representing all their people. On behalf of them, EFCC should leave Yaya Bello alone.
There's no money missing.
Yeah, money didn't lost. Yes. According to the House of Assembly, they are asking for the immediate removal of the EFCC chairman, which I second. Because this EFCC chairman, it disappoints me.
Please leave up there to the EFCC chairman. Our pastor, RCCG pastor, leave me alone, please.
But the legislators are insisting that there was an assassination attempt at Governor Dodo as well as the past governor,
politics.
and that nothing lost It was, let me use the English, unprovoked attack on the Kogi State Government Lodge, saying it was an attack on Governor of Kogi, Alhaji Usman Ododo, and the entirety of Kogi people. But she calling here, nothing lost, leave them. Leave their money for them. Nothing have lost. No democracy with
How can EFC
So their representatives, Kogi people, your representatives in your House of Assembly, they are speaking for you people right now. They say nothing lost, so.
Make them leave.
Leave there alone. You know, bad there. Bad.
To invite you to Saturday Your View. That's the show you need to be on. Not your
Nothing lost. Nothing lost.
Okay. This is our laughing now. This is Nigerian politics.
I'm tired.
Sorry, I had to take this story because I think it's that kidnapped Zamfara varsity students staff released after 7 months.
Okay, that's my story now, but go ahead.
Take it.
No, you take
it.
Take
it. I will take it. I will say what I have to say after.
Okay, students and staff members of the Federal University at Zamfara that were kidnapped by bandits have regained their freedom after 7 months of captivity. The security analyst was saying that yesterday that the victims were reportedly kidnapped during an attack back in February, if you recall. We took that story. However, Zagazola did not further explain the circumstances behind their release. We're not sure if they paid ransom or they were rescued. He added that the security forces were said to have played a crucial role in their rescue. Was that something you wanted to add?
I wanted to take it because I went to his Twitter handle, Zagazola's Twitter handle, and he has said that we regret to announce that the story we carried on the rescue of the abducted students of the FUG Gusau was old news. They were rescued in April, and the story has since gone viral. We regret any inconvenience. So this is for Tribune that carried the story.
Now.
Because when I see X, I always like to go to the X story to go and check, and he has retracted the statement, the story.
Okay, I didn't see your shoes before.
Look at Morayo's shoes. It's Morayo's shoes.
Those ones.
Leave my shoes to you.
Let's go on a break. It's Tuesday. It's not Thursday. What's all this thing that you're talking? The week has just started. Please calm down.
Morayo, show your shoe.
Let us go on a short break. When we come back, move on to our next segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Show you.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Our next segment, we're having the Lagos State government who have expressed concern over the increasing cases of sexual and gender-based violence in the state. The Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency says the agency handles an average of 300 domestic violence cases on a monthly basis, adding that in the last 10 years, they've had over 6,300 survivors and had assisted. Joining us now to discuss more on this is the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, Chief Tola Akinsulire. Welcome to the show.
Welcome
to have you.
Thank you for having me.
You see, when we hear your name, we automatically think DSB, the sexual violence, because you have been there forever.
Yes.
Yes.
You're the only
10
person,
years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Like you're the only person we've known on that place. So first of all, how has it been for the past 10 years? And how could you just summarize the success in the past 10 years, between when you started and where you are now?
It's been interesting. Obviously, we're gradually breaking the culture of silence. You have more people reporting. When we started, we're providing services to 40 people in a month. We've hit over 300. 300 is on the average. And these are the cases that come to us, either via phone calls or walk-ins. It's been rewarding, being in the position to see a victim transform into a survivor. It's something that money cannot buy.
Yeah.
And we're just privileged to be part of their stories.
Fantastic.
Okay, so we knew this body to be the Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team.
Yeah.
And now it's an agency. How did it evolve and what was it like? What was the decision like?
I think COVID, one of the silver linings for COVID, COVID basically showed us that we had a shadow pandemic within a pandemic. On average, our cases went up to about 40%. And so I think that was the point where federal government also declared a state of emergency. And that was an opportunity for us to push for the enactment of the bill, as it then was, the bill to establish the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency law. So basically, have that statutory backing, have allocation for budget. It's not enough for you to have passion. You need funds to do this work. And so that was, the tipping point for us. And we're so grateful to Governor Sanwo-Olu for giving assent to the law on the 20th of September, 2021. And that's how we metamorphosed into a full-fledged statutory agency. We are still the only state in Nigeria that has a statutory agency devoted to domestic and sexual violence.
That's good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll ask, because of these, because of the cases you have handled and it has increased, what do you think is responsible for the increase in this domestic violence and sexual harassment?
So these issues have always been there. What we're seeing now more, a combination of increase in reporting and increase in commission of the cases. Increase in reporting because there's more awareness. Okay. People are becoming more informed about support services that exist that they can take advantage of. We also have what we refer to as mandated reporters, people like APOCOs, Good Samaritans, reporting on behalf of survivors. Social media is also assisting in allowing people to share their stories. And ultimately, I think it's the political will in Lagos State that can be directly linked to the increase in reporting, survivors being able to access justice, and perpetrators being held accountable.
I wanted to ask, because a lot of women, when they've been beaten or, there's been violence against them, they defend their husbands and they go back to the marriages, even after they have agreed that the husband, then they will go back. The cases that you're dealing with, do they go back to their husbands or do they find a new life?
It's a combination of both. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they go back because they want the relationship. They just want the beating to stop. Or sometimes they say, I'm done. I want a separation. I want to file for divorce. So it depends on the survivor. And as advocates, as professionals, we're not there to tell people what to do. We are there to counsel on the different options available and help them to take a decision that they own and they run with. Okay,
so that leads me to the next question. So the ones that go back, do they stop being attacked, or does the...
So I think that's my question, because what is success for a survivor?
So it depends on what the survivor wants. So a survivor may simply want the beating to stop. A survivor may want us to call the alleged abusive partner and threaten the partner. They may want an undertaking to be signed. They may want a restraining order. They may want the person to be jailed because it's a crime. Or they may just want to go their separate ways. So it depends on what the survivor wants. That informs our success.
The intervention.
Gone are the days where we would say we must convict. Because very few Nigerian women want their spouses jailed. They just want the beating to stop. And so, yes, it depends on what they want. And it also depends on the evidence. You want to go to court, but there's no real evidence. There's no picture, there's no medical reports. When you're going to court, it's not about emotions or sentiments. It's about the facts, And that's why most times we may have to deploy alternative dispute resolution to address such cases.
Okay, some of the challenges I believe that you'd have is how we differently interpret what domestic violence is. This morning, an actress, Toyin Tomato, said, was advising on a Zoom meeting saying, even if your husband is a madman, don't leave him. You have to put up with him because of the future. And she was giving advice. What are the challenges that you see in the course of, carrying out this laudable duty that you have, because it really is huge? What are the challenges that you see per time, per person, per woman, on how they view domestic violence?
So I think there's a misconception about what domestic violence is. Some people think domestic violence is limited to physical abuse. So you hear things like, oh, is he beating you? He just didn't come home. he just gave you a little slap, but he's paying school fees. Why the force, you know? So people need to realize that domestic violence is not limited to physical abuse. Emotional, verbal, stalking, economic abuse, depriving a person from access to resources is a form of domestic violence, right? So, yes, the issues about evidence again, if you report and you don't have evidence, how do you prove that your husband verbally insulted you if there is no recording, you know? And so these are some of the issues that some survivors experience and deters them from actually reporting.
It was a social part can make that difficult. So where the person knows that you need evidence and make sure you have no means to record it.
Yes.
So how then, if they come out, how do you then protect? Do you offer homes to them where they insist, I have been abused and I want a better place, but I can't escape him. He's pursuing me and I don't have any evidence. What do you do?
Yes, and that's why we use alternative dispute resolution in that kind of situation. And we do have homes. Lagos State government has a home for survivors of domestic violence, and we partner with NGOs that provide shelter services for survivors.
You had an event recently where there was a summit, I think,
yes.
Where the theme was, are we doing enough? And the question I'm asking is that, do you think we're doing enough to actually combat this? Not just to help the victims, but to even sensitize, help the men, you know, in how to resolve their emotional issues, or even help the women who are also beating their husbands, how to resolve their emotional issues. So are we doing enough? What else can be done?
I think a whole lot can be done. I don't know if I can directly answer that question, but I do think that a lot is being done. Okay. We are trying to cover the field, but Lagos is huge. Sometimes it feels like as if we're not doing anything because of our sheer population. Yeah. As I speak with you, my colleagues are in Jakonde Market. We're engaging men on, you know, breaking gender stereotypes. Men are cooking now in the market as I speak with you. And people may ask why. Women have lost their lives because they did not cook when they were supposed to cook. This idea that these roles are, you know, gender specific. You know, we always say a baby girl doesn't come into this life with an apron or a pot. It's socially ascribed, right? And so men also need to appreciate that these are gender stereotypes that unknowingly encourage the perpetration of gender-based violence. So a lot is being done, but obviously a lot more needs to be done.
Do you have men who come to report cases as well?
Oh, yes.
That was going to be my question as well.
What kind of issues? Yeah.
Majority domestic violence. So few physical abuse, few.
How about?
Why do you say
women, as in some women who fight their husbands?
Yes. Some women are aggressive. And it's not limited to being aggressive to them. You have situations where maybe they are quarreling and the next thing, she takes his laptop, slams his laptop. Oh, or we had a lady, she took his American passport and tore it into pieces.
Right.
So that's
extreme. But there are more women that come to report than men.
Well, last year, 333 men reported.
333 men?
Yes, out of over 3,400 women. Wow. Over a total of 3,400, so about 10%.
I'm very interested. Sorry, Nima. I'm very interested. So the women will take the men and beat them like this.
No, just said it, laptop dropping, smashing.
More
emotional, verbal,
just some
access to the children. Threats. Threats is also very prevalent.
Okay, so we've been focusing on the spousal domestic abuse, but you know, in our culture, there's more on this tradition of my mother-in-law can come and take my children. A woman was at my firm asking me to sue her daughter-in-law for not having access, not bringing enough of her grandchildren to her. She's denying her, and I said, "You're not a parent. You know, her husband is sufficient," and she didn't understand it. She felt I'm not qualified lawyer enough. Telling her that I should sue the daughter-in-law. So how much of this, extended family abuses do you see, and how do you handle them?
So sometimes when parents are fighting, you have situations where, let me use a typical example. A father takes the children away, and it's very disheartening when they are taken out of Lagos. a long time ago, we had a case of a lady that came to the office. She reported that her 6-month-old baby, who was still being breastfed, was taken away by the father and kept with his sister. And so we placed a call to the sister that, Madam, what is going on? She said, oh, her brother just brought the baby. So we said, the brother brought the baby and you accepted the baby. Okay, we understand that that baby is on breast milk. How has that baby fed? Oh, she gave him, I'm unable to call the name, but yogurt. We were livid. How can you give a 6-month-old baby yogurt? And that if you are not careful, we will come and pick you up for removing a child from lawful custody, because that's a crime. By the time we knew it, the woman called the mother and said, okay, where are you? I want to hand over the child. So it does happen. And it's just unfortunate because, you know, when 2 elephants are fighting, it's the children in this situation that suffer. So it does happen, and we just have to work with the police, work with social services as well, to let this scenario you painted, I think it's from a position of, it's not from, there's no ill intention. The mother-in-law wants to have access to her grandchildren. So maybe a family counseling, you know. Why don't you want to allow the grandma to have access to the children, you know, and then you can forge a way forward from there.
Okay, so there's somebody watching you right now. I just see he or she is undergoing domestic violence or some sort, and they still don't have a clue where to start from. They just know that Lagos State helps them, but I don't even know
where's
where
your
to
office.
Go. So where do they go? Like, what's the first step, or how would you suggest they even gather evidence? You know, because some of them don't even know what to do. Just like Nima had said earlier, when people seize their phones, they don't know how to do. So what's the best admissible evidence they can provide, and what's the first step they do when they want to seek help?
So it really depends. Some are more comfortable calling us. We have a toll-free line, 08000 333 333, 08000 333 333, available 24/7. And so you speak with a trained case officer that listens and tells you what to do. Okay. Evidence is not, let's not think about evidence in abstract. Evidence can literally be going to the police station and incidenting the case. Okay. I'm not ready to prosecute. I just want it to be on record. It can be going to the hospital and telling the doctor what happened, not that I hit my head on the wall. My husband did, my wife did this, just put it, exactly, paper trail. It can be pictures. And it's not enough for you to take pictures, you should send it. Because we have some people that when the abuser knows that the pictures have been taken, they smash the phones. So just send it to your parents, send it to someone that you trust, just to have it, you know, back up. But I think ultimately, I'm not, you know, some people may hear evidence, and they're like, oh, I don't have evidence, and then they are discouraged from reporting. Come as you are. Report as you are. Call us through our toll-free line. Send us a DM on social media at Lagos DSV, or you can just come to the office at Novel House, Central Business District, Alausa.
As a follow-up question, I can let you jump in for a second. How can family members support? Because you know somebody, you know she's having issues, and she's probably not telling you, but you suspect. Well, what are the signs family members should be looking out for? What kind of things should we see to know people are undergoing some stress? And can we also call, or must it be the victim that must call?
Yeah. So typically, it's usually a change in behavior. You see, this family member used to be the life of the party. All of a sudden, the family member is withdrawn. Isolation. He or she is not reaching out, you know. And you've reached out, and the person is saying, no, I'm good, I'm fine. I think all of us should just try to provide that listening ear. And let's not be judgmental. If they do tell you that they're experiencing this, don't be judgmental. We all have what we're dealing with, and you don't know what this person is dealing with if he or she doesn't tell you. So just encourage, reassure the person that, you know, I've got you, you know, it's not the end of the world. And I think more than that, sometimes it goes as far as raising funds. It's not enough for you to say, I've got you. You need to put your money where your heart is. Sometimes maybe let's come together, raise money to secure accommodation for this person. And I think that's where survivors struggle, having that support system, that pillar to help them, you know, as they want to report.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, you know, a lot of widows are kicked out of their homes by the family of the man. Do you intervene in this kind of issues?
There are two offices, Office of the Public Defender they have lawyers on standby to provide free legal support. And there's also the Office of Administrator General and Public Trustee. Lagos State government can actually come in and take over the management of the estate. We've done that in the past, where the brothers were trying to forcefully eject the woman out of the property. So there are systems in place.
Which has been successfully ejected.
Or to get a court order to reverse that. Yes.
Let me ask this question because some Nigerians, sorry I'm pushing you to any questions, but some Nigerians see government agencies as very unfriendly. If I want to come to you, even the public defender, to come to your office, what happened to you? Yeah, you did, So they always feel like, I beg these people, I don't want their wahala, because what we see in the movies is that they are very unfriendly people. So for somebody to come to the government, to come and help them, they need to see someone of really kind-hearted people who are really concerned. They need to be like this public defender would actually fight in their interest, because sometimes they just
they have their own problem.
They have their own problem. God bless them. They're Nigerians like us, so they also have their own husbands always beating them, and they're trying to make it. So everybody feels as if, well, let me just manage my problem where I am. So are you guys approachable, or I don't know how to ask the question.
Obviously, if you ask me if we're approachable, I would say we're approachable.
Yeah.
But I think the data.
You understand?
Speaks. Yeah, I appreciate the point, but I do think that the data is speaking for us, because we are getting a lot of referrals from people that we've attended to. I've been here, I called the number, I went to OPD, I went to DSV, and I was able to get help. So I think that's our major
the success,
yes.
Let me take Ade from Ogba. Thanks for calling. You're live. Oh, I'm sorry I lost that call. What about out-of-state people? Do you help them? Because they're Nigerians watching us out of Lagos.
How do you partner out of state, like when they take the kids outside?
Yes. So we have their sister agencies in other states. So even if you call our toll-free line, it's
what's your relationship with NAPTIP like?
Yes. Oh, we have a good referral partnership with NAPTIP. Okay. So if it happens in Lagos and there's an element of sexual and gender-based violence, that also includes trafficking, NAPTIP refers that aspect to us. And then if there's a trafficking component, we refer to NAPTIP.
So if I live in Kwara right now and I call 08,000
we will refer you to Kwara State government or an NGO that is in that state.
Okay, so you work probably more with NGOs since the state governments are not.
No, we also have some states that have similar structures on ground.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, so I know that a lot of women, the major complaint is most of the time they wouldn't like to report because of the financial, they are not financially stable and all. Are people trying to make laws that will protect the woman in case of maybe divorce or a separation or anything? Like the way they do in all these...
They are economically empowered.
Yes, like the way they do in the developed countries. Once a woman would share this property or
we have that in Nigeria. But the problem with that is a good number of survivors don't want to file for divorce. They don't want to be the first. They don't want to be the first person to file for. You hear things like, I'm waiting for him to file. I'm waiting for him to file.
Okay. Let me take Dio. Thanks for calling, Dio. You're live.
Okay. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, sir.
Please, someone come here. The reporter that
Can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, somebody called me yesterday that the person that her husband is trying to rape her more than 3 times. Now she now asked me that she don't know what to do, if the woman or not. And apart from that, her mom is someone that doesn't care about it. So she doesn't even know how to talk to her mom. So that's why now I just give me advice how to talk.
I'm sorry, we're having trouble hearing you in the studio. I'm sure our viewers probably can hear you, but we can't hear.
Okay.
It's a bit blurred here. We can't hear you. Hopefully our producers can hear and interpret to us. But yeah, there was a question? Okay. So I think, really much. So one of the reasons why I wanted to just bring you here is just to remind Nigerians that the services is available. So just in a nutshell again, as we wrap up with you, tell us what your office does and how they can come to you and find solace.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity. The agency was set up to provide holistic support to survivors. Holistic support meaning medical, legal, psychosocial, counseling, empowerment, rescue, and obviously access to justice. And we do this leveraging a multidisciplinary approach because no one government agency can provide all the services that survivors require. I want to encourage, if you're a resident in Lagos and you're experiencing domestic or sexual violence, please know that you are not alone. There are services that you can access if and when you speak up.
I have a message here that says, divorce is very expensive in Nigeria. That's why most women don't file for it. They just walk away.
There are, OPD can serve as a legal representative. We have NGOs like FIDA, Aula, that also provide that service at no cost to survivors.
Okay. All right, that's all we can, any other comments? Okay, that's all we can take. Thank you so much for coming. We hope you wish you the best and next 10 years on this.
Yes.
All right, let's go on a short break. When we come back, we continue with the show. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. It's Tuesday, our Healthy Tuesday. So the celebration of the World Heart Day is on the 29th of September this year and is intended to increase public awareness of the cardiovascular diseases, including their prevention and their global impact. Joining us on the show to discuss more of this is the cardiologist, consultant, and at the National Orthopedic Hospital Okobi, Lagos, Dr. Okobi Sika. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
We know the heart is one of the most important organs in the body, and we worry about so many other parts, but we don't talk about the heart so much. Just in a nutshell, just could remind us of the importance of the heart before we start talking about the possible issues it may have.
Okay, thank you so much. I remember that a few times I had a discussion with my colleagues. I used to tell them that the heart was the most important organs. So it is heart one, then every other thing follows, and then they would laugh. So truly, the heart is a very important organ because it is seen as the pumping machine of the body. Your brain, your kidneys, your muscles will not get oxygen or nutrient without the heart. So the heart just pumps the blood, carrying oxygen and nutrients to your tissues, and then your tissues can receive them and carry out their activities and grow. So the heart is a very important organ, and it is very unfortunate that a lot of people don't know what to do to preserve the function of the heart. So I see that this meeting and this gathering is a good opportunity to disseminate information so that we will know how to take care of our heart, yes, and to preserve it in its function.
So what are the best ways to take care of the heart? Some people say that walking is the only way. Some people have some other form of exercises.
Okay, well, there are quite a lot of things we can do to take care of our heart. So sometimes some basic lifestyle measures can be taken, like what you talked about, the exercise. And there are different modalities of exercise. So we generally, for cardiovascular health, encourage aerobic exercises, which can come in different forms. It could be brisk walk, could be swimming, jogging, skipping, even aerobic dances. So there are recommendations for what your exercise modality should be. WHO has stipulated what we should do. That to have adequate exercise, you should do about 4 times a week, minimum of 30 minutes each session. But for new starters, people who are just beginning, you should grow gradually. So maybe start off with 10 minutes, and over time, you can upgrade. But in your mind, you should know that the minimum is 30 minutes. Again, sometimes you might also be guided based on your premorbid state, the certain disease conditions that might be present in the patient. So healthcare professionals can help to direct or guide the patient or the individual on how to go about exercise. But generally, for a healthy Nigerian aerobic exercise is minimum of 4 times a week. If you can do every day, why not? And then at least 30 minutes of exercise.
I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
you know, when you're exercising, your heart rate goes up.
True.
So how high, and I know it depends on the age, how high, like I'm 63, how high can my heart rate go up? Can it go, if it goes up to like 60, 65, 165, is that very bad or is that okay?
Oh.
And how, recently someone, a famous singer died, Onyeka Nwenu. I believe that maybe because she had exerted her heart so much, and maybe she wasn't used to exercise, her heart rate went up very high, and then it didn't go down gradually. Maybe it should have.
That's your own assessment.
I said, that's why I'm asking. I don't know, I'm asking.
Yeah, okay.
You know, is it because sometimes they say don't exert yourself and then go down very, yeah.
So, very correct. Now, it is not just the heart rate. It is also, we also talk about the blood pressure. So these are the ways the body helps to coordinate activity. If I'm sleeping, my heart rate reduces because there are no serious activities. Not to say that there are no activities, the heart is still working, your muscles are, things are still going on, your respiratory tract though relaxes, but the functions still continue. But this is different from what happens when you are physically exerting yourself. So in a rest mode, your heart requirement is less. So what the heart is expected to do is less. But during physical exertion, climbing the stairs, running and exercising, then you expect that the tissues, the muscles are going to ask for more. And it is in the process to supply more that the heart beats faster. Now, the heart rate does increase when you exercise, but not just the heart rate, the blood pressure also increases. And I think the problem here is that sometimes people don't know their figure before they get involved in exercises. Okay, I was in a hospital some years ago, and a gentleman ran into the hospital and he said, "Doctor, check my heart, you know." And I perceived that he had had a terrible experience and he was afraid. And then I said, "Relax." So when he calmed down, I started the process. I did an echocardiography for him. And while I was doing the echo, I was astonished at my findings. His heart was big. His heart muscles were thickened. His chambers were dilated. And I'm like, "I'm sorry to ask you, sir, are you hypertensive?" And he says no. But it was very doubtful because the findings at that moment were strongly suggestive of, hypertension-related heart disease. So when I was done, I asked him to sit down when he was much relaxed. And then I checked his blood pressure. He was doing 160, 120. So apparently what happened was he was in a club with his friend, a very close friend. And while his friend was playing tennis, he slumped and died. So that put fear, and he ran to the hospital. So a lot of people don't know their figures. And I perceived that, in fact, I was just imagining that he could have died just like his friend. If he did not know at that time. So, and that's what happens to a lot of people. You see people, because high blood pressure, which today is considered the commonest cause of cardiovascular disease, and that's what we celebrate in the World Heart Day. Hypertension is the commonest cause of heart. It doesn't cause symptoms. It's just a silent disease condition. So people can have and run very high blood pressure without having symptoms. So you could be there with a 160, 120 before your exercise. So you now imagine what your blood pressure would be when you exercise, because your blood pressure can go as high. If you do a treadmill, you do a treadmill and you are exercising, before a treadmill, they measure your blood pressure. So you could do like you might be at 130, 80. And minutes into the treadmill, they still measure your blood pressure. You see that some people are already doing like 180, 110. Wow. And this was someone who started with a 130, 80. So now imagine if your baseline was 160, 120, what your blood pressure would be. So, and that's the reason why a lot will just slump.
Going back to what YK said, because I was still trying to understand the answer to that question. Meaning that if somebody is running and obviously your heart is pumping.
True.
Now, can you rest right after that? Can you rest immediately, or do you have to somewhat gradually go into rest? If not, because that could be what could cause people that slump and just die.
Okay, true. So everybody has a level of tolerance, and then the exercise, a lot of times when you exercise and you see that you are already getting worked up, the natural thing to do is to stop. So like we said, during those activities, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up. But within 30 to 45 minutes of exercise, when you are rested, your blood pressure and your pulse comes down. So it comes down. And that is why the recommendation is for those who have not been exercising, don't just start with 30 minutes. Go gradual. You can do like 20 minutes. You can do it like start off with 10 minutes, increase to 15, and gradually. You can even pick, some people can exercise for 1 hour, they are good. For those periods, their heart rates are high, the blood pressure is high, but the moment they rest, within 30 to 45 minutes, these parameters back to normal.
So I know someone who...
Sorry, one second.
So how does cholesterol affect the heart? Because I noticed that as you go older, your cholesterol starts getting higher.
Okay, so the first thing about cholesterol is that cholesterol can be good and bad. And we need to also understand that the body makes cholesterol. Our liver synthesizes cholesterol, especially at night. But we also take some parts from our meals and our diets. So, and if you look at the different entities in a total cholesterol workup, what we call the lipid profile, you would see that you have an HDL, which is good cholesterol. So HDL is good cholesterol because if you have a high level of HDL, which is the high density lipoprotein, it protects your heart. It reduces the incidence of heart attack. And then we have the bad one, which is the LDL, low density lipoprotein. So that is the culprit for heart disease. And if you have excess of the LDL, so it gets deposited on the walls of the blood vessel. Some changes occurs during the process. Some cells within the vessels can engulf it, oxidation occurs, and then you have plaque deposited inside the walls of the blood vessel. So over time, the plaques increase and occlude the lumen of the blood vessels and that can continue until such a time when there's a complete occlusion. So when there's an occlusion of the blood vessel, it means that blood will not flow. So the organ or the tissue that is supplied by that vessel will not get oxygen, will not get nutrient, and consequently, the tissue would die. So cholesterol causes heart disease when you have the high density lipoprotein getting deposited on a constant basis on the walls of the blood vessel, and over time, this narrows the lumen until there's a complete obstruction, and then blood supply, nutrient, and oxygen completely cut off from the tissue.
Okay, is there a name for a condition where a person who wakes up in the morning wakes up with a high blood pressure and with activity normalizes blood pressure during the day?
Okay, so a very good question too. So we have different types. We have some people who dip. When I say dip, their blood pressures are low in the morning. And we have some people who can spike in the morning. So they wake up in the morning with a very high blood pressure. And then as the day progresses, their blood pressure would drop. Now, unfortunately, we can only know what your blood pressure is at the time you come to hospital to measure. But truly, the better way to assess an individual's blood pressure, depending on what problem you perceive the patient has, is to do what we call a 24-hour blood pressure monitoring. So some patients can have a normal reading in the morning, and then in the evening their blood pressure is going up. And then, but if you do a 24-hour blood pressure monitoring in which you wear the gadget and it measures your blood pressure for 24 hours, then it shows you the pattern. It tells you what your blood pressure, your highest blood pressure, your lowest blood pressure during the day, your highest, your lowest at night when you are sleeping, the average for the night and during the day, and the total day. So you can have a proper assessment. However, if you have a monitor, you could also take your readings in the morning and in the evening for those who have blood pressure issues. Yes.
I keep
So
meaning
it
to buy
depends
a
on your
monitor,
pattern.
Sif. I keep meaning to buy a monitor, but it's listening
it's a
to
good
you.
idea, yes.
I'm very
motivated.
Yes,
to
to make sure I get
How does
one.
breathing exercises help the heart?
Okay, so when you're taking a deep breath in inspiration, blood is pulled into the thorax, and then your parameters can, of course, when you're taking a deep breath and blood is pulled into the chest, then the blood within the circulation, the heart is connected to the lung. So the oxygen you take in diffuses into the bloodstream, and then that particular blood is diverted to the left side of the heart, and then eventually gets into the ventricle, which is, and the ventricle.
Breathing exercises are good.
So breathing exercises helps, because if you're taking a deep breath, you just drag in atmospheric oxygen into your lungs. So it means your lungs get ventilated, your blood gets more oxygen, and your tissues get better perfused.
You said something that worried me, that I thought, exercise would bring the blood pressure down. But you have now said it can increase your blood pressure.
Okay, so during exercise, your blood pressure goes up. After exercise, notice I said 30 to 45 minutes after exercise, your blood pressure comes down. So during any physical activity, so the normal response is that your pulse and your blood pressure would go up, because at that time, your tissues, your muscle, your heart, your intestines calls for more blood. And the only way that can happen is for your blood pressure, your pulse to go up so they can supply your tissue. So when you run or jog, your blood pressure actually goes up. And that's why when people come to hospital, we say, if you have just climbed the stairs, don't just sit down for your measurements to be taken. Relax for like 10 minutes because you have just undertaken an activity. So it will be good for you to rest a bit before you take your measurements. So it is during exercise that those parameters, your blood pressure, your pulse will rise. But 30 to 45 minutes thereafter, they would come down.
So what's the best position to take your blood pressures? Lying or sitting?
Okay, so in the lying, not bad. For those who are, for someone who is healthy and who wants to just check his blood pressure at home, it would be better in a sitting position with a table almost at the level of your chest, because the monitor has to be at the same level as the cuff, because the cuff is believed to be at the level of your heart. So not to put it on your thigh. So if your table is much lower than the chest wall, then that will not be a good position or posture.
So it should be like this.
So, and that's why a lot of people like to check on the dining, because a lot of times the dining table is almost at the level of your heart.
Let me take this call from Daniel. Good morning, Daniel. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Please, I have a question for the doctor in the house.
Yes.
Yeah, he's talking about the monitoring of blood pressure for 24 hours. I want to know what is the interval we'll be checking it. Is it every 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes? That's my question.
All right, thank you very much, Daniel. Intervals to be checking your BP.
Okay, so during the blood pressure monitor, it's the machine that checks for you. It's an electronic device, which you wear on your arm. So during the day, the machine measures the blood pressure every 20 minutes. And at night, the machine takes the reading every 30 minutes.
That's in the hospital. It's talking about the manual one at home.
Okay, you mean the manual one?
It means that mobile ECG. What he thinks is that the manual one, how do you check?
Yeah, that's the same.
For you, what you're talking about is the machine they wear on you for 24 hours.
Yes, so you wear the machine for the 24-hour blood pressure monitoring. Is different from what you use in the hospital.
Yes, that's what he's saying.
So the one at home, you don't need to be measuring. You can't use the one at home and measure for 24 hours. I mean, it will be impossible. Yeah. So, and that's why there's a special device for a 24-hour blood pressure monitor. You wear it and you go about your normal activity. You go to work, you eat, you cook. It doesn't stop you from doing your activity.
So so you can have that one. You can buy that one.
No. Well, some people have the gadget, but I mean, a lot of people can't use it because it prints out your reading, and then an expert needs to interpret for you.
The question I thought the guy was asking, the manual blood pressure machine that we have,
yes,
how often do I check? Is it morning, afternoon, night? Is it every day, 2 hours, every 1 hour?
So you really don't need to check your blood pressure so often because, again, there's a lot of anxiety associated for some people if they have to monitor their blood pressure so many times. Okay. However, sometimes a doctor may ask a patient to monitor a bit frequently. For when I adjust my patient's medication and I want to see the impact of medication, I may ask my patients to check every day and send the readings to me. Okay. And then once I have established, I've seen what I want to see, then I can say just check 2 times a week or once a week. So everything depends on who you are dealing with and the disease process in question. So for some people, once a week is fine. Yeah. For some people, 2 times or 3 times a week is fine. You don't really have to check your blood pressure every day. And if you want to do so, there's nothing wrong if you think you have the time.
Let me take Kelechi. Thanks for calling, Kelechi. You're live.
Yeah, Mariah, I want to ask the doctor. Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. Doctor, I want to ask you this question. You know, in gym, we see gym instructors as experts. Some of them don't have medical knowledge as to how to regulate our system, how to guide us medically. But unfortunately, a friend of mine, a gym instructor went to, train his brother in a... Hello?
Go ahead, Kelechi.
Okay. Yeah, let me start all over again. I said, a friend of mine, I said, we see every gym instructor as an expert. But unfortunately, some of them don't have the requisite medical knowledge to guide some of their clients. One of my friends, a gym instructor, went to train his uncle in his house. As during the exercise, the uncle slumped. He almost died. So when they got to the hospital, the doctor discovered that the gym instructor was guiding him as against his medical programming. So, doctor, I want to ask you, as a professional, what do you suggest in this kind of scenario, this kind of case? Thank you very much.
Well, I don't know how to... So the gym instructor obviously is not trained. So
yes, exactly. So a lot of people who participate in exercises in the gym have instructors. Some of those instructors have some little knowledge, so they can guide. But the knowledge they have is like acquired from, limited. So I think what he's saying is, he was saying that his uncle saw a gym instructor who was doing activity, he slumped and he almost died. The whole essence of this is we try to empower every individual with knowledge to know your figure and to know what you are supposed to do. My heart patients, they know the kind of exercise they are supposed to undertake, and they know that when it starts getting to this, you are going beyond the limit and they would not go with you. So it may not necessarily be the instruction from the gene instructor that was the problem. It might just be that his uncle already had some background medical problem which he was not aware of.
Okay, let me take call. Thanks for calling. Hassan, you're live from Lekki.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Doctor, please, I have a question for you. In a lot of instances, we find ourselves in a situation whereby doctors will always advise you to exercise. And now, based on what I'm hearing from you, your exercise must come with instruction from the doctor again. And the doctors have been telling us, anytime you go to a facility, they will tell you, it's because hypertension is a common disease. A lot of people are suffering from it. But the doctor will always tell you, for you to protect yourself from diabetes and whatsoever, you should engage in physical exercise. And now we are now seeing the adverse effect of exercise. And not everybody will go to a doctor to ask him whether to embark on an exercise or not to embark on my medical conditions. That is one thing. And secondly, my question is this. Please, this nifedipine for controlling hypertension, please, what is the side effect of it?
All right, thank you very much, Hassan.
Okay, so I think I need you to understand me. There's nothing wrong with exercise. We are just trying to say that you need to know how to go about it. Exercise is one of the non-drug method of controlling blood pressure and even helping your sugar, your blood glucose control. Exercise is one of the non-drug, because you have, for treating hypertension and diabetes, you have the drug method and measures, and then you have the non-drug. So for the non-drug measure, exercise is one of them. But what we are just trying to say is that some people engage in exercises without knowing their figures. I mean, it is wrong for you to have a 200, 120, and you are going to do high intensity exercise. It could be dangerous because during exercise, your blood pressure goes up. So if your baseline is already 200, 120, so you can imagine that you might get to 280, 150. And at such levels, your blood vessel may not be able to withstand it. You can have a blood vessel rupture.
So know your numbers before you start.
know your number before you, exactly.
That's
what we are trying to say.
Fantastic.
So if you see that your blood pressure is quite high, it might be better to start off some medication, get your blood pressure a bit down, then before you can now engage in exercise. But for those who are fine, who don't have blood pressure issues, you are sure you've monitored, you've checked, I mean, there's nothing wrong with just getting involved in exercise. And then he said the side effect of nifedipine. So nifedipine is one of the medications we use for treating blood pressure, and it belongs to the family of drugs called the calcium channel blockers. So this group of drugs characteristically cause swollen feet. So, and then they cause headaches, and then they could also give palpitation. Palpitation means increasing your heart rate. But again, you know that there are very common side effects for all drugs. Some drugs have very common side effects, and rare side effects. But what I'm mentioning to you now are some of the common side effects of nifedipine: headaches, swollen feet, palpitations. What else? Well, those are the common side effects you can have associated.
Let me take this call from Bagada. I know that lots of callers who are trying to call in right now. Good morning, calling from Bagada. You're live.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, sir.
My name is Obed, calling from Bagada.
Ruben.
Obed, yes.
Obed, go ahead.
Calling from Bagada, yes. Please, I would like to ask the doctor. My wife is a BP patient, and during the night, her BP goes up for no reason. Meanwhile, she's taking her medication. And sometimes when it goes up like that, goes too high, she has to take a nifedipine under her tongue to bring it down, and also with a other medications. Although she takes just 2 medications, metidopa and nifedipine. Nifedipine comes when the BP is high. Well, I don't know what causes it. During the day, her BP is normal. But during night, while she tries to sleep or when she's sleeping, most times it goes up just like that. So what could be the cause, please?
Okay, so this still brings me to what I talked about before, that different people have different patterns of blood pressure. There are some people, you know, generally people think that in the night when you are resting, why should your blood pressure go up when you are resting? And that's why we say it has nothing to do with rest, as it were. You can be resting and your blood pressure will still go up. So it depends on your pattern. So I perceive that your wife spikes at night. And when we have such pattern, there's a way your doctor has to adjust the medications. Some people may have to take some medications at night so that on waking up in the morning, they have good blood pressure readings. Some may have to take most of their medications in the morning. Some may have to take something in the evening. So everything depends on the pattern. But it is something that your doctor, your wife's doctor, needs to work out. But it again shows that her medication needs to be adjusted. Her medication needs to be
Okay, yeah, so there's, I have a friend, she's over 50, and recently she just realized that she has a hole in her heart. Usually I hear it with infants, mostly they will have a hole in their heart, and most times they don't even make it. But I'm now wondering, somebody that is over 55, with a hole in the heart, did this just happen, or she's had it a long time, and
what could have caused it?
Exactly.
What could have caused? Thank you. So thank you for your questions. So a hole in the heart is usually congenital. So congenital means the child was born with it. But when the hole is small, it may not cause symptoms until adulthood. And on physical examination, sometimes when the hole is small, a very careful doctor might hear some sound in the chest during physical examination with stethoscope that may point to the fact that there might be a hole in the heart. So the doctor may not be sure, but from the sounds you hear with your stethoscope, you may pursue it and ask the patient to do further investigations, echocardiography. Now, a few people can develop a hole in the heart in adulthood. It's not common. And these are people who have had a heart attack. So there are some types of heart attack that may affect the muscle that separates the 2 chambers in the heart. We call it the interventricular septum. And because a heart attack means that the muscle dies, then eventually a hole can develop subsequently. So it could be a development that occurs in adulthood, not common, but heart attack is one of the major things that can make someone who did not have a hole in the heart in childhood to eventually have one.
Okay,
but generally, it's congenital.
I'll come to you, Nima, in a second. I have Olawale from Satellite Town. Thanks, Olawale, you're live.
Yeah, good morning, Auntie Moraya. Welcome, ma'am. Yeah, hello, doctor, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can, sir.
Yeah, please, my question is that on this year in March, I'm a SCI patient, right? I think you understand what I mean by that.
BI? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I say I'm a SCI patient. I mean, so in March this year, I went for physiotherapy. Immediately I reached the hospital, I was directed to check my BP. So when they checked my BP, they couldn't attend to me for the physiotherapy I went for. They now called the doctor. So they admitted me too on the admission. So what they discovered is that I have a low BP, which I'm the one that wheel myself to the hospital. So my question is that, is it possible for someone that wheeled himself from house to the hospital, yet, and they said he has a low BP? And last week again, the same thing happened to me. I went for the physiotherapy again. They still said I have a low BP, which they admitted me, and I spent more than a week before they discharge me. Please, what is the cost? And I don't really know why I always have that. Which people that have the same challenge with me, they do have a high.
Okay. You're getting a lot of patients on TV, but go ahead.
So I understand. So, well, it is not common to have low blood pressure, but truly, yes, you can have low blood pressure. That's one. Then two, I feel that the problem with low blood pressure is that sometimes the diagnosis for low blood pressure is wrong. So I have had people referred to me for low blood pressure because their blood pressures were 100/60. And I'm like, your blood pressure is normal. 100/60 is not low. I've seen people who were sent to me because their blood pressures were 110/60. So, and these are normal readings. So when you say your blood pressure is low, it means that the upper one, which is called the systolic blood pressure, is below 90. And the lower one, which is called the diastolic blood pressure, is below 60. So even a 90/60 is a normal blood pressure. But if you have an 80/50, then that is low blood pressure. So if your blood pressure range for those times you had to be kept back in hospital was in this range, then we could say that your blood pressure was low. The commonest cause of low blood pressure is high blood pressure medication. So many times people come down with low blood pressure because the doctor is trying to optimize the patient's blood pressure. So the patient is already on some medication, blood pressure is not controlled, and doctor is increasing the dose. So if you increase the dose too aggressively or too often, then the patient's blood pressure could drop. Then there are other little things that can make your blood pressure to be low. Like if you had massive, diarrhea illness, vomiting episodes, those things, or blood loss, you bled. These things are common things that could drop your blood pressure.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And then finally, a disease condition that is not common. In my how many years of medical practice, I've only seen 2 cases that is commonly associated with low blood pressure. Is Addison's disease. It's an endocrine condition that has to do with low cortisol level. It can cause low blood pressure.
Very short time. Let me let Nima jump in. He's been waiting for a while.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about low hemoglobin. We had this episode where we were doing blood donations.
Okay.
And I was said to have low hemoglobin. And so can you explain what it is?
Okay. So hemoglobin is a parameter that assesses your blood level. So your blood level can be in grams or in percentage. When it's in percentage, we use packed cell volume, which is PCV. And then when it is in grams, we use hemoglobin. So as an adult female, you are expected to be within the acceptable range for normal, which is like 12 to 16 for females. So if your own is below 12, then they will say your hemoglobin level is low. And that is to say in a layman's language that your blood level is low, which is different from blood pressure. So if your blood level is low, then you want to try to find out. The commonest cause of low blood level is iron deficiency.
Someone is asking me, Moses Ade is asking me to ask you what causes night sweating.
Night sweating. And let me also add this question because our final time. It says I've done an ECG with 24-hour Holter monitor and they've all come out clean. I get palpitations and sometimes chest pain. They don't last very long and they happen randomly. So I don't have any specific triggers. So what kind of test can they undergo? So night sweating and then this person is having palpitations.
Okay, so for night sweats, a lot of things can cause night sweat, but let's just pick
Another
the common
person
things.
answered him that it is it's village people.
Okay, now, so on a more serious note. Okay, well, tuberculosis is one of the conditions that is known to present with night sweats. So if you hear that someone has a drenching night sweat and the person has been coughing, losing weight, runs a fever at night, then what should strike you is tuberculosis. Then there are some cardiac conditions that can present with night sweats, like people who have heart failure. So those who have heart failure, because of certain chemicals that are elaborated or secreted into the bloodstream. Tumor necrotic factor, interleukin-6. Patients with heart failure can sweat a lot, especially at night.
Okay. All right, because of time, the ECG person says that I've done ECG 24, whole-time monitor, they've come out clean, but they still get palpitations sometimes.
Okay, so palpitation is a very big issue. And then the way I solve palpitation is I try to classify what kind of palpitation the patient has. So we have what we call the symptomatic palpitation and the asymptomatic palpitation. So symptomatic palpitation means the patient's palpitation is dangerous and must be treated. And this means when you have palpitations associated with fainting spell. Palpitation means awareness of heartbeats.
Yeah.
So when your heart, my heart is beating, but I'm not hearing it, I'm not feeling it. That is the way it should be. But when you become aware of your heartbeat, or you feel your heart is beating fast, then you say you have palpitation. So if you have symptomatic palpitation, it means you have, with your palpitation, there is a fainting spell. So while your heart is beating, you could pass out. Or while your heart is beating, you develop a chest pain. Or while your heart is beating, you become breathless. Or you start sweating profusely. So if you have palpitations with these symptoms, then we'll say it's symptomatic palpitation, and it means it has to be treated. Okay.
Unfortunately, we ran out of time. Okay. Maybe I'll tell the person.
Can you come back
Thank you. We need to bring you back. Maybe we should have a series on hearts. Okay. It's like lots of Nigerians have a lot of questions, so we might have to bring you back to continue this conversation. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
That's all we can take on today's show. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.